जो डर गया समझो मर गया।
आज खुश तो बहुत हो गया।
अरे फैन चालू करना। एसी इज ऑन सर, एयर कंडीशन चालू है। तो इधर घुमाना।
सारा शहर मुझे लाइन के नाम से जानता है।
The Indian film industry, enthralling, exciting and enigmatic. Movies churned out by the largest movie-producing nation in the world are not just the staple entertainers of people of the Indian subcontinent, but enthrallers to audiences around the world. From east to west, the Indian film industry captures the imagination of audiences from across boundaries, cultures, and nations, attracting viewers from across cultures and making them a part of the Indian experience. Hindi films are that medium. A visit to these countries testifies the impact of Hindi films on audiences there. On the streets of Berlin, one can find a group of girls singing Om Shanti Om, a popular song from a Hindi film. Posters of Indian films and film stars glare out of popular video libraries in countries around the world. Fans in Britain and France scream for Indian film stars and cheer them on as they walk the red carpet on various international film festivals. And in Russia, people still recognize Indians by their legendary actor and filmmaker Raj Kapoor.
आवारा हूँ या गर्दिश में हूँ आसमान का तारा हूँ आवारा हूँ.
It was in the 1950s that Russia was introduced to Hindi films for the first time. As a prelude to the visit of the then Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru to the erstwhile Soviet Union, a Hindi film titled Avara was screened in the country. And instantly, it struck a chord with the Russians. Like Russian cinema, the film presented the pro-poor, pro-working class propaganda at the time. But the imaginative and splendid settings left a mesmerizing effect on the Russians. Theatres resounded with applause and appreciation for the film. The leading actor and producer of the films, Raj Kapoor, and his leading lady Nargis became a huge hit there. Russians demanded more of Kapoor's films, and so they poured into Soviet Russia. Shri 420, Avara, and Chori Chori touched the hearts of the Russians, and Raj Kapoor's popularity heightened manifold. Kapoor went on to become an iconic figure in the country. Whenever Raj Kapoor and Nargis visited the nation, they were mobbed on the streets, and Raj Kapoor was cornered to sing songs from his popular films. No amount of convincing on Kapoor's part would make the Russians believe that it was actually the playback singer singing and not he, and he ultimately had to oblige his Russian fans.
Honoring your parents, your grandparents, which is very, very important, I think. And I think this aspect of Hindi movies has always been attractive for Russian audience. And that is why it was so popular in Soviet Union, starting from Raj Kapoor films. And that is why it's still popular when we see Hindi movies, be it in Russia or in India or somewhere else.
Hindi films have spelt magic on audiences in several European nations and North America too. Films like Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, Baagban and Kal Ho Na Ho grossed huge revenues from countries including Britain, Germany, France, United States of America and Canada, amongst others. It was not just the people of Indian origin that relished the splendid settings and wept with the emotions in the film, but also the foreign audience that appreciated and embraced Hindi films wholeheartedly.
For me, Hindi movies, especially Bollywood movies, are just a part of my life. I don't remember a single day without listening to a song from an Indian movie or watching a movie. Not every day, but very often. And the reason why I'm here in India is because of Indian movies. This is how I discovered this beautiful culture and country.
In Germany, a film's duration is typically about 90 minutes. The audiences, since decades, are accustomed to the brief and crisp storytelling format that has been the norm in German cinema. But it was a landmark in the history of the German audience when they sat through 3.5 hours of Indian filmmaker Karan Johar's Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, or sometimes happy, sometimes sad. Starring India's most popular film stars, the film is based on the theme of loving one's parents and captured the imagination of its German audiences. The film brought tears to the eyes of the many viewers in its screening in the cities and towns of the country.
The attention span is about to expire after 1.5 hours with a typically European audience, I'd say. Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham was the first sort of very successful movie in Germany, Bollywood movie, and I know personally a lot of people who went to see that movie.
How Hindi films manage to find resonance with such a cross-section of audiences has been a matter of keen interest to many. The answer lies in the underlying theme, values and virtues that Hindi cinema depicts and the emotions of love, respect for elders and true friendship it brings alive and propagates through its films.
यार जब हद से ज़्यादा बढ़ जाता है मामा तो घुटन बन जाता है.
Values that we all know of, but that have become dormant within us. Virtues we learn as children, but which get lost in the race to gain success and prosperity in life. Stressing on these very virtues, Hindi films impact audiences, bringing them face to face with the emotions and beliefs that they may have forgotten in the hectic lives they lead today.
We really make films on our value systems. Unlike any other film in the world, we still cater to that same audience, which is basically an Indian audience. We look after the emotional angle. We look after the fact that basically all Indians are people of the heart. So we try to keep the approach more to the heart. And I think that's what makes Indian films Indian films.
Values of true friendship, love and family honor, compassion for the poor and needy, respect for elders, equality and social justice are shared by nations and civilizations across the world. It is Hindi films that bring them alive on screen and thereby engulf the imagination of its audience, making them aware of what they might have forgotten or lost in the race to success. India's most successful Western, Sholay, enamored film lovers from across the world. The film, packed with action, revenge and drama, ends with Jay sacrificing his life for his friend Veeru. The revelation to Veeru makes him, otherwise a jovial character, break down and mourn the loss of his beloved friend. The effect of this scene is for audiences across the world to feel.
लेकिन कोई दुख नहीं वीरू जिए तो दोस्त के साथ मरे तो दोस्त के सामने.
Characters who were big players are remembered after 38 years of the release of the film. That's unprecedented, unparalleled. Kalia or Sambha. Now Sambha, everybody in this country would know who is Sambha. Sambha had only 3 words in the film, Pure 50,000. That is all. He was nowhere. and people remember him.
Social issues like exploitation of the poor and abuse of the less privileged were addressed in classics like Do Bigha Zameen, Naya Daur and Mother India. Bimal Roy's Do Bigha Zameen told the story of a poor farmer Shambhu who is suffering years of drought on his land. He greets rains after 2 years on his parched land with celebration, joy and relief. His happiness, however, is short-lived as the landowner wants Shambhu's land for setting up a factory. The film depicts the exploitation of Shambhu at the hands of the greedy rich and the cruelty he suffers as a result of insensitivity and thoughtlessness around. Mother India depicted the plight of a woman in village India who faces the tough circumstance of repaying a huge loan to the village moneylender after her maimed husband deserts the family, a flood on her land, and the death of one son. In the face of this trying situation, she raises her other 2 children. Radha, played by legendary actress Nargis, displays extraordinary character when she kills her own son to uphold the honor of the village.
लाज नहीं दे सकती। तुम मार सकती है तो मार, मैं भी अपनी कसम नहीं तोड़ूंगा।
Mother India's popularity in India reached epic proportions, and the world stood to applaud it too. The film was nominated for the Oscar Awards in the Best Foreign Film category. It is rumored to have lost out on the award by a single vote.
Mother India was a very entertaining, very beautiful film, a lovely story. You actually go to here to see a film to see a good story. Along with that, if there is a social issue, that whole thing gets lifted to a different level. You see, a film which is just entertainment, you will forget it after a year, maybe 6 months, maybe 3 months. But a film which has told you something, which has made you think, is a film which you will remember for the rest of your life.
Another landmark film in Hindi cinema is Vijay Anand's Guide. The film tells the tale of a freelance guide, Raju, who falls in love with one of his tourists, Rosie, who is caught in a tumultuous marriage. Rosie walks out of her marriage to Raju after she starts loving him, but an unfortunate misunderstanding rips apart their relationship, and Raju lands up in jail.
फिर नए सिरे से जीवन शुरू करेंगे।
हाँ, मुझे तो नए सिरे से ही शुरू करना होगा। जीवन।
On release, Raju takes refuge in a drought-stricken hamlet where he is mistaken as a godman who will bail the village out of its grief.
क्या कह दिया तूने इनसे? आपने जो कहा था वही। क्या कहा था मैंने? कि आप जान दे देंगे।
Raju initially enjoys the gifts and love the people shower upon him, but then gets too involved in the harsh reality that affects the villagers. He fasts for the villagers till rain besieges the hamlet, and when it does, Raju succumbs to hunger.
मैं तुझसे दूर नहीं, तेरे अंदर बाहर मैं ही मैं हूँ.
The story of a young man leading an ordinary life, caught in an extraordinary situation and dying in an extraordinary fashion, strikes a chord with one and all. Emotions of love and yearning come alive, and virtues of compassion and honesty pierce the audience through.
Guide, I think it was a great story, a great book, and made beautifully into a film. You know, almost a smart alecky, fast-talking guide, how he transforms because of circumstances around him and because of a kind of mistaken identity becomes a guru. And how this, through him, this wife gets her own freedom in her life. So I remember these to be the most biggest driving forces of Guide, especially these two characterizations. And probably these are the two, and the film, these are the elements that probably even appeal to foreign audiences.
Yash Chopra's Diwar told the story of Vijay Varma, played by India's iconic hero Amitabh Bachchan. Due to ruthless blackmail by the factory owners, Vijay's father, a trade union leader, is forced to betray the interests of his fellow labourers, who in turn humiliate him and drive him off the town. His mother is then also forced to leave the home and raise her children by herself in the mean streets of Bombay. Vijay grows up in acute awareness of his father's humiliation and mother's subsequent misfortunes. He works even as a child to lend a helping hand to his mother in educating his younger brother, and grows up to be a dockyard worker, fiercely clinging on to the bitterness and angst of his childhood.
एक मजबूर औरत, दो मासूम बच्चे, भूख से निढाल।
तुम्ही सावंत के आदमियों को उनके घर में घुस के मारा था?
कौन सावंत?
Vijay's attitude and fearlessness is noticed by an underworld smuggler, Davar, and Vijay willfully goes on to work for him to earn himself the riches that he feels will end his mother's distress and will give her the comforts that she deserves.
मुझे आपका सौदा मंजूर है, डावर साहब।
मैं ये घर छोड़े जा रहा हूँ, अभी, इसी वक्त।
Learning of the ill means he has used to buy the house and material comforts for her, Vijay's mother deserts him too.
माँ जाएगी।
नहीं माँ, तुम मुझे छोड़कर नहीं जा सकती। तुम मुझे बहुत चाहती हो माँ, मैं जानता हूँ तुम मुझे छोड़कर नहीं जा सकती।
The film depicts emotions of love between mother and son, the angst of a son against the father who he felt betrayed his family, the bond of two brothers who tread different paths but cross each other at the hands of destiny, the desire for money, and the realization that it means little without the people you love. The film also addresses the issue of exploitation of the weak. Vijay Varma rises to stand against dockyard owners that represent a system hurt by corruption and yearning for a change.
तुम लोग मुझे ढूंढ रहे हो और मैं तुम्हारा यहाँ इंतजार कर रहा हूँ।
Vijay Varma could well have been the hero of any country simmering under a corrupt and exploitative system.
Towards late 60s and early 70s, when India became more and more urbanized and industrialized, the underworld became the villain. So there is a connection between the society and the cinema. And if you look at it carefully, it depicts whatever is happening in the society.
Apart from the resonating emotions and virtues, it is the mesmerizing music of Hindi cinema and its overall grandeur that attracts the international audience to it. Musicals may be rare and far between in Hollywood, but one can rarely come across a Hindi film that does not have songs. Music is integral to all festivals and celebrations in India, and a Hindi movie is said to be incomplete minus the fun and frolic of songs and dances. From the black and white era to the present day scenario, from the lilting music of the 50s and 60s to the techno-type music in today's films, Hindi films have remained the inspiring musicals that would make anyone break into a song. Music for every occasion, for festivals, weddings and feasts, for sorrows, for mourning in times of grief. Music for the soul, and sometimes just to rejoice.
It's a household thing in every house in Pakistan. You know, we listen to, I mean, we grew up with Lata ji and Asha and Kishore and, you know, in everybody's household. I mean, R.D. Burman is God in Pakistan.
I have some collection of soundtracks of movies, and I just appreciate because of the instrumentation. It's so distinct. It's so Indian, and this music helped define Hindi movies. So I love them.
An Indian movie without music is not an Indian movie for me. Bol choriya, bol kangana, hai main ho gayi tere sajna, tere bin jiye main lagta main tu mar jaya, le ja, soniya le ja, dil le ja, oh.
Over the years, Hindi films have evolved and different themes have been experimented on the Indian movie screens. But the popularity of Indian cinema has only grown ever since. New age films depict a globalized India, a culture that has imbibed and assimilated cultures from various parts of the world. Yet, the core of Hindi cinema remains quite the same. In 1994, Suraj Barjatia released his film titled Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, or Who Am I to You?
Nisha ji.
The film, well above 3 hours, had audiences from across the world lauding it. A greater chunk of the film depicted the fun and frolic of wedding functions in India. Interspersed with no less than 14 songs, the film resonated with the national and international audiences through the common values of respect for family, love, sacrifice, and duty.
What I liked much was, for sure, the songs and the happy ending. You know, I mean, and even though this happy ending, it was surrounded by sad events, but still, it reminds me that, I mean, whatever can happen to you, I mean, the best is always to come, so.
In the same year, Aditya Chopra released his film Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, based on 2 non-resident Indians who meet in London. The film depicted respect and love for elders like never before, true love and patience in an unusual setting, values of belief and passion. All that found resonance across the world audience.
It was one of the first ones I see, this, yeah, with Shah Rukh Khan and Kajal, and I really loved the contrast of the scenes in England and the scenes in India, because that's something that I can be familiar to with my own family background, like living abroad and having the rest of your family in another country that is almost totally different from me because you have been raised in an European country.
Karan Johar debuted as a director in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, or Something Happens, starring India's current heartthrob Shah Rukh Khan. The film depicted the story of a man who loses his wife and returns to his old best friend to rediscover love in her. The movie, complete with grand sets, lilting music and dramatized emotions typical to Hindi cinema, went on to become the biggest overseas grosser in the history of Hindi cinema. On the same lines, Ravi Chopra set his film Baghban, wherein children make their parents live in different houses to share the burden of their parents' existence. The film met with overwhelming response, with people coming face to face with the phenomena where they cared less for their old parents who now seem to be of little use to them. Baghban was also one of the biggest grossers in nations like UK and the US.
I was asking a question, and I think that question is a question which every man, every woman must answer in their lifetime. Okay, the man who makes you walk the first step of your life, will you make him walk the last step of his life? That is a question which every man, every woman has to answer. And I think that is what actually made the difference in the film.
लगान 100 साल पहले की एक ऐसी कहानी जिसने इतिहास रच दिया.
Films like Lagan or Land Tax, a period film, talks of a group of farmers who have to defeat the mighty British in a game of cricket to get themselves exempted from the burden of tax. The farmers unite despite all differences in caste, creed and religion to defeat the common enemy. Depicting the virtue of equality and social justice, complete with song and dance, Lagan faced applause and cheer in India and abroad alike. Lagan went on to get nominated for the Oscars and was lauded internationally for its extraordinary portrayal of the theme that truth and will can overcome all odds.
When Lagan was shown at Locarno Film Festival, and that audience was mainly Italians, Germans and French, I was wondering as to how is the screening going to proceed, because they are used to 90-minute movies and they are all soccer-playing nations. So here is a 3-hour 42-minute film with cricket, which they know nothing about. And much to my surprise and amazement and happiness, of course, that they not only sat through the 3-hour 42 minutes, they enjoyed the game of cricket. And that's how I think they chose Lagan for the Audience Award. And we got the Audience Award at Locarno.
With recent releases like Munna Bhai MBBS, Rang De Basanti and Swades, Hindi films continue to bring audiences face to face with virtues and values that lie dormant within them in the race to succeed. They continue to bring alive emotions that we may have forgotten and remind us of what is human and the little emotions that must stay alive in each and every one of us.
जीना यहाँ मरना यहाँ इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ जीना यहाँ.
Respect for fellow human beings, respect for elders and family, struggle for justice and social equality, secular and peaceful coexistence, unconditional and eternal love, and dignity and celebration of life. These themes cut across the barriers of caste, creed and countries and strike a chord with people in India and abroad, reminding us that despite our differences, we are still all part of the human race whose values and virtues stand as one across the world.
ये मेरा गीत जीवन संगीत कल भी कोई दोहराएगा. ये मेरा गीत जीवन संगीत कल भी कोई दोहराएगा. जग को हंसाने बहरूपिया रूप बदल फिर आएगा. स्वर्ग यहीं नर्क यहाँ इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ. जी चाहे जब हमको आवाज दो हम हैं वहीं हम थे जहाँ. अपने यहीं दोनों जहाँ इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ.